Had we not pit-sat through trusted house-sitters, we might not have found this gem in Portugal. Azeitão is a charming region located about 35 kilometers south of Lisbon in the district of Setúbal, Portugal. Azeitão refers to a cluster of picturesque villages nestled at the foot of the Arrábida Mountains within the Arrábida Natural Park. The main villages include Vila Nogueira de Azeitão, the largest, Vila Fresca de Azeitão, Aldeia de Piedade, and Aldeia de São Pedro. The area gained prestige in the 15th century when noble families began establishing residences there. Today, Azeitão is known for its bucolic peace, historic buildings, and friendly locals. The region has a rich aristocratic past, evident in landmarks like the Palace of the Dukes of Aveiro and Quinta das Torres. Azeitão is renowned for its Moscatel wine and red wines made from the Periquita, Castelão, grape. The creamy Azeitão sheep's cheese is considered one of the best in Portugal. The tortas de azeitão is a local egg-based pastry with lemon and cinnamon flavors. José Maria da Fonseca Cellars is open for tours and wine tasting. Quinta da Bacalhoa is a beautiful 15th century country house with rare 16th century azulejo panels. Fonte dos Pasmados, Fountain of the Stunned, is a historic fountain known for its beauty. Azeitão is also home to several historic churches and palaces. Vila Fresca de Azeitão is one of the charming villages that make up the Azeitão region in Portugal. Vila Fresca de Azeitão grew up around Quinta Fresca, a significant historical site. In the 15th century, King Dom João I established a palace here, which later became known as the Palácio da Quinta da Bacalhoa.
Remember I mentioned the palace was built in 1480, so in the 15th century. Any kind of land we had here in the property came way before that, linked with this family, the Pellerin family, in the 13th century. They had a lot of land here in Vila Fresca de Azeitão and also in Palmela, and were also well known in Lisbon throughout a period of time. After a few years of being here in this land, this property, they ended up selling it to Pedro Afonso Miaila. This man was a worker of the king at the time, and you can ask yourself, how did a simple worker have such amount of money to buy a land as big here as we have our palace? Very, very easy answer. He was stealing from the king. So obviously the truth came to the top and he was sent to prison, where he actually ended up passing away in 1379, and all that was his automatically went to the royal family. You can see here the claw. They spent around 54 years in possession of this property, with this land, until we get to a very important lady in the story known as Dona Bleach. A very influent lady. She loved to travel, she was very rich, and she was always traveling through Italy. And it was in Italy that she fell in love with this Renaissance style, which also inspired her to build here this Renaissance palace. Initially, the palace was built as a holiday home for her son, Dom Manuel I. He never came here, not for holiday, not for residence. He never set a foot in this palace. So a waste of time and a waste of money, we can say. But you can see here, Dona Bleach spent 64 years of being the owner of the palace. So we can say she almost lived two lives, because living this long throughout this period of time was very, very complicated. When this lady passed away, this palace went to her granddaughter, Dona Bleach Lara, a lady that didn't have half the interest our grandma had for the palace, and after 22 years of being in and out of residence, she just ended up selling the palace once again. To Afonso Braz de Albuquerque, a very important person in the story as well. This man was the son of Afonso o Grande, the Viceroy of India, so he had here his father's goods and the name Albuquerque as well. And with this, he ended up building our lake house on the outside part of the palace, and also decorating our palace with tiles, medallions, and some ceramics you're going to be seeing later on in the other rooms. The Albuquerques, you can see, spent a long time in this palace, but they had a lot of war with one another, political, economic, and ended up abandoning the palace for over 200 years. The top floor completely fell. It was all in ruins with lack of maintenance and care, so it all fell. And a lot of things were stolen as well, medallions, ceramics, and even some tiles too. When the Albuquerques returned to the property a few years after, no one tried to look for the things that were stolen or even reconstruct the palace. They just simply sold it once again how it was. Back to the royal family with Dom Carlos I, He was a very artistic king and had a lot of ideas to place here in the palace, but he was unfortunately assassinated in Torre do Passo in Lisbon in 1908 with his older son. With this, everything that was his, here the responsibility of being king and all the land and properties he had went automatically to his younger son, Dom Manuel II, the last king of Portugal before the implantation of the Republic. He was only 16 years old when this happened, so you can imagine how overwhelmed he would have been with all this responsibility falling upon him. So after, you can see here, 6 years of being in the property, he ran away from the country with his mum, Dona Amelia, scared to end up like his father and his older brother as well. So when he ran away, he placed once again the property on sale, back with another man, Raul Martins Leitão, a worker of the Bank of Portugal, and for an unknown reason, he also ran away. If you want to compare these two of stealing, feel free. Leads all back to the same thing. After he ran away for stealing, 22 years later, he placed the palace on sale. And finally, we have a lady that was actually interested in the property, in the palace, and the art that was still left here. Orlena Scoville, an American lady. She was completely in love with tiles. She studied tiles, and when she came to Portugal on a visit, she came here to the property and fell in love with what was still left in the palace, and ended up buying the palace in 1936. And in 1937, she started to reconstruct and restore the palace. So it's thanks to this lady that we have this piece of art for you guys to come and visit and see today as well. The Scovilles spent a few years in the palace until getting to the last Scoville, being Thomas Welsh Scoville, the first person to place any kind of vineyard here in the property in 1974, 5 years before the first Cabernet Sauvignon came out for the first time. He's still alive nowadays. He's rounding his 80, nearly 90 years right about now, and lives in Washington, D.C. But due to his age, very complicated to keep traveling between the two countries, although it's a very long journey. So he decided once again to place the palace on sale, but with two conditions. Return it to the Portuguese people and hand it over to someone that had the same love and interest that he and his grandma had for the wine and also for the palace itself. So with this, we have the owner nowadays, José Berardo. His family live on the first floor all year round. So it's throughout the tour you hear any kind of footsteps, voices. Don't be scared. It's not ghosts, anything running around upstairs. It's simply the children that live on the top floor. Okay.
This royal connection gave the village its initial prominence and set the stage for its future development. The Palacio da Quinta da Bacalhoa, now known as Quinta da Bacalhoa, is one of the most important landmarks in Vila Fresca de Azeitão. This estate features a palace dating from the 18th century, art and azulejos, decorative tiles, from the 15th and 16th centuries, beautiful gardens with box-hedged paths, 3 pyramidal towers, including the Casa do Fresco, and the country's oldest azulejo panel, dating to 1565, depicting the story of Susanna and the Elders. Guided tours of the palace, gardens, and wine cellars are available, offering visitors a glimpse into the area's rich history and winemaking traditions. Bacalhoa is one of the largest and most innovative wineries in Portugal. The winery is located in Azeitão, in the Setúbal Peninsula region south of Lisbon. It was founded in 1922 as João Pires and Filhos, initially selling grapes to other producers. In 1998, businessman and art collector José Berardo became the main shareholder and significantly expanded the company. They also own the historic Palacio da Bacalhoa Palace nearby, which dates back to the 15th century. Bacalhoa produces wines from 7 different Portuguese wine regions, including Setúbal, Alentejo, Bairrada, and Douro. They have 1,200 hectares of vineyards and 4 wine production centers across Portugal. The company is known for both traditional Portuguese varieties and international grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon. They produce still wines, sparkling wines, and the region's famous Moscatel de Setúbal fortified wine. They were pioneers in producing varietal wines and using new oak barrels for white wines in Portugal. The Azulejos de Azeitão is a workshop where visitors can purchase high-quality, modern azulejos tiles made to order. The Palace of the Dukes of Aveiro, also known as the Palacio da Quinta das Torres, is a 16th century Renaissance palace was built between 1520 and 1523. Though currently in a state of disrepair, it remains an important historical landmark. The Fonte dos Pasmados, Fountain of the Stunned, is a Baroque-style fountain, built between 1764 and 1777, is a notable landmark in Vila Nogueira de Azeitão. It bears the coat of arms of King José I and is famous for its beauty, which supposedly leaves visitors stunned. The José Maria da Fonseca winery, while not as old as some other landmarks, has significant historical importance. Founded in 1834, it offers tours of its manor house and cellars, providing insight into the region's long-standing winemaking traditions. Churches in Azeitão include Igreja de São Lourenço em Vila Nogueira de Azeitão and Igreja de São Simão in Vila Fresca de Azeitão, in addition to the Fonte dos Pasmados, Azeitão boasts several other historical fountains including Chafariz, de Aldeia Rica, and Chafariz de Oleiros, which features period tile work and a Roman-era engraved stone. These landmarks offer a glimpse into Azeitão's rich past, from its aristocratic heritage to its long-standing traditions in winemaking and tile work. Visitors interested in history and culture will find these sites particularly appealing. Visitors can enjoy wine tasting, cheese sampling, exploring historic sites, and taking in the natural beauty of the Arrábida Mountains and nearby beaches like Portinho da Arrábida. Azeitão offers a perfect blend of history, gastronomy, and natural beauty, making it an attractive destination for those looking to experience authentic Portuguese culture away from the bustle of larger cities.
So this next room is dedicated to our Catarina wine, our white, our red and our rosé, but also to the lady Catarina herself, this lady here in the statue behind you and in the portrait on the wall. A very important lady which took over some English traditions to England when she got married to Charles II. She took over the use of cutlery, jams and marmalade, the tobacco, and obviously the tea as well. So this lady, when she went to England, she would have a 5 o'clock tea every single day with the legs of the English court, and obviously no one could refuse here an invitation from the Queen itself. But obviously there was some people that refused them, and whoever refused this invitation from the Queen was with her husband, the King. So that's how she found out who her husband's lovers were throughout this period of time. Nice. So we can say a very smart lady, very, very smart lady. Nowadays we just use social media to find these things out.